69 is a tale of music, so pure and so fine. There was Bobby Draper with his 4-track machine. It was that three legends starting to fulfill their dreams. Happy birthday to you.
Whoa! Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you all. Thank you.
Okay, Carl wants to go right now. Hold on from the food until Carl reads what he has written down here.
Love it.
Oh my God.
You know,
I
everything is true with Bob. So here's another
Everything is true.
true story. I hope you enjoy it. Bobby doesn't refer to the number of wives he has had, only the risk of having another. That doesn't mean he doesn't get distracted. Of course he gets distracted. So here we go. She was standing in line at McDonald's waiting for her order. Bobby doesn't like to eat at McDonald's, says it isn't real food, but his friend had insisted, so there they were. And so was she, a striking brunette, her hair cut short in a haystack look with bleached tips, the kind of style influenced by American Idol, an adult version of a punker. She had a small diamond stud in her ear and 4 rings on various fingers. The fact that one of these rings was a wedding ring didn't faze Bobby. He stood a short distance away. She didn't acknowledge his attention, although it would have been difficult not to notice his looming hat. Her aloofness only made Bobby all the more curious. She was wearing a tight-fitting black halter top with a black bra strap casually hanging on one shoulder and cut-off blue jeans. She had that last-minute look to her, yet it was apparent that intricate planning was involved. She belonged in everything she wore, and all of which was deeply appreciated by Bobby, who at that moment was fixated on her upper right arm. Near her shoulder was a distinctive tattoo dedicated to Mother, 1954-1996. Cowboy that he is, Bobby took a John Wayne's-like step towards her and spoke. "Tell me about this beautiful work of art," he said, gesturing to her shoulder, although he could have meant her entire person. In one fluid motion, she picked up her McDonald's bag and turned, saying, "It's a tattoo." As she walked away, Bobby could only watch and uttered a short guttural laugh in appreciation. Just then the McDonald's cashier interrupted to say, "May I take your order, sir?" Still thinking about the dusting he had received, Bobby replied, "I doubt it, but how about one of those Fiesta salads for now?"
Thank you, Carl. Let's all get some food, and please think of your favorite Bobby story.
Thank
I know
you,
we all have
Carl.
all
Thank
those
you.
concerned about them being appropriate or not. I don't think we have to worry about any appropriateness
Carl.
level
Thank you.
with this particular crowd. So please.
Because we had to jump around a lot at Christmas times. And that morning, with extreme delight, wondering during certain years what Uncle Bob would bring for a gift. Would it be like windshield wiper fluid, or batteries, or duct tape, whatever you could find on the way up at the holiday station? But probably the best gift I remember, Grandma was still alive too, because it was after a very important night normally for him. He would stumble in, and one time he had extra big glass vats of something. And we're all like, "What is that?" "Oh, it's just a jar of pineapples, everyone." And I was sitting like next to Grandma, I remember. And it was just spiked rum punch with a bunch of pineapples in it. And I remember her sitting there eating these pineapples and just loving life. And I think that was a very good Christmas for Grandma. And this one, I don't know if it's a real memory or a fake memory. There's a lot with Bob. So one time, and this is more a reflection, I think, on my parents at the time that used to fly up to fishing trips or camping or cabins and just sometimes let, when we were very young, Uncle Bob drive us up. Like the night before, they were getting there. And I'm like, that says a lot about my parents, eh? But one time, I remember this, that suddenly we were all playing around at the cabin, and Uncle Bob was supposed to be there, but he wasn't. And it got very late at night, and I believe the sheriffs got involved too. And nobody could find Bob, and then I think the next day came around and everybody showed up, and back then I think this was probably the 70s, early 80s, everybody was fine. And there was no news reports. Is this a real story? Yep. Okay, cool. Yes, that's my memory. Yeah, so we survived quite well. So thank you for the memories, Bob.
Okay, I have a very short story or comment about Bob, but he has the most impeccable timing when it comes to eating food.
Yes, I do.
Countless celebrations at my house, holidays, whatever. And I never really send out an invitation to Bob because you don't need to, because he's got he's radar, he's tuned in. And everybody's there, 20 people at my house. And right before we're going to say grace and eat dinner, here comes Bob. Here comes Bob. You can always count on him to show up for a meal. Good timing, Bob. You have great timing.
Thank you.
And then he's out. He owned the world.
Oh, yeah, he did. You did.
I think I stayed at one of those hotels.
So Bobby and I have been friends since early '67, when he got back from Korea and he was making love to everybody. And he's real good at it.
This was mine.
He had this little, what was that little green car he had, Bobby? That little sports car.
Oh, that was a...
MG.
No, that was an Austin Healey. Austin Healey Le Mans, 1956.
He'd just drive around and his beard would be flowing in the breeze. He'd smile at everybody. He'd stop. Any good-looking girl, he'd stop, go, hi. How you doing, honey? Yeah, he was great. Yeah, you've been around. Thank you. So Bobby and I have a lot of stories. I could tell you stories all night and not stop. But I'll tell you one in particular. Bobby and I used to live together, and this is a side story now I think about it. We drove the guy that owned the house who drove him crazy. He never came back. He lived there, but he never came back because we were playing music. That's where the Bone Band started. And Bobby and I started a Bone Band. And it's an interesting long story which I can't tell here, but it was really a fun, great time and a lot of music. We started Media House together. Mark Ahlstrom and Folky Person and Bobby and I, and we had a lot of fun and made a lot of great music, made a lot of great commercials, made a lot of great fun, did films for the In-Fishman magazine and did some great stuff. Never made any money. Right, Bobby?
Right. but it was great stuff.
It was great stuff. So I have this little fishing cabin up on Caribou Lake by Lutzen. And at the time, I owned it. Mark Ahlstrom owned part of it. And you guys have all been there.
Thank you, Randall. Yeah, thank you.
In fact, it's amazing to me how many people have been there. Because at one point, Bobby had a key, which I didn't know about. So I'd come back, and it would never look the same when I got back. So, yeah. And Bob said, "Hey, I got this place. You're gonna love it. I got this place." So one time we were, I don't know, it's probably late '80s. So Bobby came up, and Bobby Greenberg and Mark were out fishing already, and Bob and I were sitting on the dock watching the sun go down, drinking Hardy Burgundy and smoking Bobby's great weed, which he called Thunderfuck. Then he named the cabin the same name, and then we had to put it on a board so when people drove in the driveway, it was welcome to. We weren't really, the neighbors didn't like us too much. We stayed up all night. We used to go out in the middle of the bay and play Moody Blues in a little tape recorder, a little portable thing, and we had 2 speakers on it. Remember that, Bobby?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
Very well.
We played as loud as we could, and we sit out in the bay.
JVC.
Yeah. I don't know. They never put us in jail. I don't know why. So we're sitting on the dock, and we're supposed to go out and meet the other guys, and they're fishing, and it's getting later and later, and the sun goes down. And we're getting higher and higher and laughing our ass off, which we did mostly. We spent about 4 or 5, maybe 20 years just laughing. I don't remember doing anything else about it. I just laughed all the time. He'd come over to my house and he'd say, "You gotta have some of this," and then I'd be on the floor and he'd leave. Yeah, he'd go and I go, "Bobby, I can't move." He said, "That's great, man. You are doing good." I said, "I'm not doing good. I'm in major trouble here. Don't do that. I think I'm gonna die, for Christ's sake." And he would come and go, like he always does. He comes unexpectedly, leaves unexpectedly, and then you're loaded to the point where you can't see. So we're sitting on the dock, and we think, okay, we gotta go. So it's like 35 degrees, 40 degrees, early spring. So we get all dressed up in our gear, and we have this little boat called the Tub, which had a 6-horse motor on it. And we somehow get piled into the boat, and we are way wasted. So we giggle all the way over. Of course, on a lake, when you giggle and laugh, it goes for like 100 miles. Everybody, So, but we got over to our fishing spot, and there were some other guys there, guys that we've been fishing against for years. It was competition, and so we slip in, nice and slow. We get to our spot, and we just kind of pull it up real quickly. And I gotta pee. I said, "Bobby, I gotta pee." He said, "Oh, that's funny." He said, "Well, now we have all this gear on, like, snowmobile suits, and it's colder than hell." So finally I get up, and I finally kind of get it done and fall in the lake. So now Bobby is laughing his ass off, and it's 35 degrees in the water. I mean, this is serious shit. If somehow the water was only like 2 feet deep, so we got back in the boat, and so there were lots of, with 3 or 4 other boats. All of a sudden, it got real quiet when we got back in the boat because we were really careful not to make any noise because this was a professional thing, and we already made enough noise. So I fall out of the boat, and he's laughing his ass off, and the guy across the bay, pitch dark, it's like 10:30 at night. "Are those boys fishing or swimming?" Remember, Bobby?
I remember that, yes.
We never lived that one down.
Yeah.
Oh, Carrie scratched it off, and the whole family is going wild. Everyone's jumping around. We're getting big hugs. We really needed the money. We were poor.
What were the lawyers in the family saying?
What'd they say, Nate?
Oh, you're gonna put it here. You're gonna invest it here.
Yeah. They all had good financial advice. We were all celebrating. $10,000 was a whole lot of money to us at that time, and we were so excited. And I'm thinking about how I redeem this newfound money, and I flipped the lottery card over, and it said, the first thing I read, "Valid only in your dreams."
we should have, and we're going, we don't really remember you back then. It's like you were kind of, you were kind of gone, we were younger, whatever. But I was talking to Mary Kay last night, and she said, Joanne, whatever you do not mention the 90-10 rule. Don't go there. Do not go there with Bobby. Don't say that. And I go, okay, Mary Kay, but I'm going to mention it anyway. I want to go. 90-10 is, because I would believe everything. Aaron, I would believe everything Bobby told me. When Bobby said, oh, I've got an apartment for you, right? I'd go,
mistake.
I know, seriously. I mean, I would totally believe him. And Mary Kay would go, Joanne, 90-10, not 90-10. 90% bullshit, 10%, for real. So, but Bobby, I've learned that now, and I don't really care. Because I love the fact that your stories are so freaking amazing, and I believe them, and anyway, I love you, Bobby. I mean, Bobby said something to me the other day that made me cry. He said, you are the person on this earth that I have known the longest. And I went, holy shit. Okay, oh yeah, I guess I am. So, unfortunately, a lot of our family members are gone, and Bobby, I'm the person that you've known the longest, and I love you, and happy birthday, and shootsicle. I mean, you're 80, I'm right behind you, and we're just going to be celebrated until we're what? 100 and change, right?
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
Amen.
Right.
Amen.
You begin. Where do you even begin?
I don't know.
I know.
Yeah. Some of my favorite are with Harlan. Does anybody know Harlan?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
We know Harlan.
I would be hanging out with Harlan and Bobby.
Yes.
Yeah. Traveling all over. Having fun. One of my favorite things about Bobby is he doesn't like everyone. I don't know if you've noticed this, but I've watched him so many times in a bar, and someone comes up and talks to him, and he just stares at them, and then just goes, it's like they don't exist. Anybody else? I have lots more. After getting to meet Peter Yarrow and sing with him on a riverboat, actually, on the Mississippi. And that was like her dream come true, and she passed away a year later. So that video, and then I think Carl helped edit it, but meant the world to our family. So.
Uncle Bob for a long time, and I do know that one important thing about him is the stories. Lots of stories.
Lots of stories.
You get a lot of airtime when you're not around. And so, a lot. I mean, you're a big presence when you're there, but you're maybe even bigger. The legend is even bigger. So my question that comes up in my mind is, and it's always Jaysha talking about this, Radar Love.
Oh, yes.
I want a Radar love story. I mean, it probably involves love. I want a Radar story. Radar love.
First daughter's, no, our second daughter's wedding, and it's at our house, and we live in the country, and it's a pretty place, and we have a big tent outside, and we have music, and we have, all the food and everything. It's just the bar is all set up, and it's just like, oh, picture perfect. And here comes Radar Love down the driveway. And Randall said, well, yeah, you can park that up on the top, Bobby. Now he's there before anyone else is there. And Bob said, I'm just going to park it right over there, right beyond the wedding tent. And so there it stood in all its radiant beauty with the lights on. we had Radar Love at the wedding.
Yay! Thank you.
Okay.
Tisha and I and his mom are living in Evanston, Illinois. We moved down there. I'm working downtown, and we
Give
have
some
a
context, Mike. Who are you?
little house in Evanston. Context?
Who are you? I've never
Well, I'm Tisha's stepdad, and I'm his cute little mom, wife for the last 41 years.
Yeah.
We lived in rural Wisconsin for a while when Tisha was little, and then we moved down to Chicago, and we're living in Evanston, Illinois. Little house, I'm traveling around on business and stuff, and we get a call, and it's Bob Dragner, and he says, I'm coming through town from Indiana, and I want to come and stop by and see you. Sure, that's great. He stops by with a great big truck with a tank in the back. And he comes in and says, what's going on? He says, I'm on a minnow run. And I said, a minnow run? I thought you were in the veneer business. And he says, no, I'm in the minnow business now. And so he comes in and we chat. I would talk to him for a while. We smoke a little pot and we sit, and the time goes by, and all of a sudden he says, oh my God, my minnows need to get oxygenated or they're going to die. He says, I can't bring a bunch of dead minnows back or I'm going to be in big shit. So he goes out and drives the minnow truck back to Minneapolis, and we were, well, Mankato, actually. I think this might, you know who this is. Yeah. He called to report that the minnows survived, and it was great to see Bob in Chicago.
We're winning now. Here's the Bob stepping up when he had to for Forrest and Kale and being a great dad. And now we're best buds. It was awesome. Which there was no lack of love the whole time. I've always been really enamored with my dad. Happy birthday, Bob. And I think one of the best things he ever did, speaking of summer trips to Wisconsin, I had many summer trips to Mankato. And I think the best thing he did was drop me off at Mary Kay's house.
Quite a few. My love for cars. Growing up, going back and forth from Houston to Mankato. We wrecked 2 different vans, one on that trip and one in Florida. Little known fact about Radar Love, it does have cruise control and autopilot. There's enough time to fill a wine glass, take a leak, and get back to the wheel. It's okay, it knows how to drive. But we're all here. We made it. That was my love for driving, love for fishing. Growing up around the cabin, around Grandma Abby's place. Little known fact, the fish eggs from like a largemouth bass, that's not caviar. It was when we were kids. I got laughed at in my teens when I tried to serve it up to my friends. I have since served it to Dad. He tried it, said it's not as good as he remembered. But I think my favorite fishing story is, throughout my years, I've been trying to catch a northern over 40 inches. Growing up, I knew Dad's biggest northern was 44 inches. Randy has a witness, right? 44 inches, or pretty close, right?
90-10.
There was a picture, I remember.
You remember the one on the wall in the cabin?
Yeah, it was pretty big, but it wasn't as big as his biggest one. I remember a picture of Dad with the head on the chopping block, and the head looked as big as his, and he said, yeah, 44 inches. And I think it was about 7 years ago, I came home with a 35-inch northern, and I cleaned it up and we ate it, and he goes, you know what? You just beat my record. And I go, what the hell? I've been trying my whole life to catch a 40-inch northern. He said, yeah, I think it was like a 33. I still don't know the real number.
Okay, this is pretty good. So I'm a history major, and I was reading a book at the time. I was really intrigued with the Sioux uprising of 1862. And there was a conflict in southern Minnesota, right? Mankato, New Ulm, that area. And I thought it was an intriguing subject that people should know more about. And I happened to be at Bob's apartment above the hardware store down there, and I see this this movie poster down there of the Sioux uprising. And I don't know where Bob was, maybe at the Coffee Hag or something like that. I'm there alone to have a little bit of time, and there's a script there. And I started reading the script, and sure enough, it's all like things I've been reading about, like Little Crow and like all the things going on. I'm like, whoa, this is pretty good. Like this needs to happen. The world needs to know all about this. So then Bob comes back, and I'm like, hey man, I'm just like reading the script, man. This looks really good. He's like, oh yeah, we're making a movie. I was like, of course you are. Great. This is awesome. And so I hear back from him a number of weeks later. This is like 2007, I think. I hear back from him, and he's like, hey, guess what? I'm like, what's going on? He's like, oh, my movie won an award. I was like, really? Yeah, Sundance Film Festival. Whoa. Okay. I get on the horn with Cousin Nate. I'm like, you'll never believe this, but Bob made a movie and is going to the Sundance Film Festival. We gotta go. And Nate's like, really, you think? I was like, yeah, let's do it. And so we formed this trip, and me and Nate agreed to fly out to Vegas. Bob's gonna meet us in Vegas, and then we're gonna rent a car, and then we're gonna drive to Park City, Utah, where the Sundance Film Festival is that year. So sure enough, me and Nate are in communication, get the tickets, do all the things, in contact with Bob, like, okay, we're meeting in Vegas, right? Oh yeah, we're meeting in Vegas. Like, okay, great. Fly to Vegas, get to Vegas. Me and Nate have a great time staying in the old downtown. We're having fun. I think there's a point where we had a bunch of drinks and called Marla up and apologized for killing your hamster. Which she didn't remember, which has been on my conscience like my whole entire adult life. We were like 3 and 2 years old and snuck into a room and like played catch with the hamster until it died. That's when I first learned about death. And so I was like, this is like really bothering my whole life. And Mara's like, what are you talking about? And I was like, no, sorry. But me and Nate have a great time in Vegas. We gambled. I think we won a little bit of dough, had fun. Rent the car there. The whole time in contact with Bob. Like, are you coming to Vegas or are we meeting in Utah? I was like, oh, let's just meet in Utah. Like, okay, great. So we rent a car. It was a longer drive than I thought it was going to be from Vegas to Salt Lake City. We get to Salt Lake City first, and we stayed in Salt Lake City. And man, we had fun in Salt Lake City. Those Mormons know how to party. They got a lot of pent-up partying to do. It seemed like, but we had just a blast. We're like bonding as cousins. We're having a great time, reuniting as best buds. And the time keeps going on. We're calling Bob every night. Like, when are you coming? You're flying to Salt Lake, right? Oh yeah, I'm flying to Salt Lake. I'll be there tonight. I'm like, okay, great. Night goes by, he's not there. Call him the next day. Oh, I'm coming. I'll see you. I was like, I'll pick you up at the airport. So the Sundance Film Festival finally arrives. It was like a 7-day trip. It was like day 6, and we drive up to Park City, and we're looking at the list of movies. We're scrolling down. I was like, well, I don't see anything about a Sioux uprising on this list. Like, what the hell's going on? Like, the movie's not here. Me and Nate watched some other movie. It was really good. Get back to the hotel room. It's on like the last day now, and we call Bob up, and just have to ask him the real question, like, this isn't really happening. You're not really coming, are you? And then there was a pause on the line, and he said, "But didn't you have a good time?"